Hi, I'm Ed Burley. I'm a retired Brigadier General in the U.S. Army and also retired Assistant United States Attorney. As I've been making these videos, a number of people have asked me, why should we care and spend money for the defense of Ukraine, Taiwan, South Korea? Why should we be committing money and troops to NATO? Wouldn't that money be better spent at home? Couldn't we spend that on Americans or on veterans or something? The same arguments are often made about foreign aid and humanitarian assistance as well. Usually, we hear about the importance of helping others because America is the richest country or it's the right thing to do. But there's some very practical reasons why we should provide military and foreign aid to other countries. Generally, there are three types of wars: civil wars, regional wars, and world wars. All of these are in increasing severity. Since the founding of our country, the world wars have primarily focused on either Asia or Europe, and more recently, some in the Middle East. Europe is currently struggling with energy issues. A lot of it is caused by the war between Russia and Ukraine. China is struggling to feed its population. India is also in the same situation. In the Middle East, it's mostly about control of oil, the energy resource. When trade flourishes and flows freely, most of the issues that would eventually cause a world war give away. This is good for peace, and it's good for a capitalist society like America. Our markets require access for growth and to continue to spur our economy. When conflicts over resources arise, it causes warfare. And eventually, regional conflicts can become a world war. In every case where that has happened, America has been drawn into it to a good portion, to a good extent, because our trading partners are affected. Now, the far left in our country has argued, oh, America should not be the world police. We don't need to be involved in foreign countries and their issues. The far right in our country, to include Donald Trump, have argued for the same end, saying that we should be isolationist, that we should withdraw from all these troubles around the world and look out for our own country. Each and every time America has done this and has withdrawn from the world, we have been sucked back into an even larger war with more casualties and more cost because our commerce and our trading partners have been affected. Now, prior to World War I, the U.S. Republican administrations urged isolationism. The byword was, leave European issues to the Europeans. However, our trade with Britain and France during the war and Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare with their U-boats drew us back in. One of the most famous examples was the sinking of the USS Lusitania, where 123 Americans, along with about 1,000 other individuals, were killed. Our trade, which is essential for a capitalist society to continue, made our ships vulnerable to German submarines. And we were drawn into that war where 116,516 Americans were killed. Far greater than if we had made efforts to impact things earlier. Now, during the period from World War I to World War II, Republicans again sought to isolate America from Europe's troubles. We keep to ourselves, let them sort out the problems. The rise of fascism in Italy, the rise of Nazism in Germany, the rise of communism in Russia in particular, all culminated in World War II. The Japanese Empire, the imperial empire, was seeking resources in Asia, particularly oil and rubber, and America limited their supply in order to try and prevent the Japanese Empire from expanding. And as a result, the Japanese attacked us at Pearl Harbor. The Germans, who had been upset about us supplying Britain with Lend-Lease equipment all the way through and providing them with support, also started targeting our ships with their submarine fleet again, and eventually declared war on us. During the course of World War II, we lost 405,399 troops killed in action. In the 1990s, Democratic leadership looked at the losses in Lebanon and Somalia and became concerned about Americans becoming the world police and started to withdraw us from our foreign involvements. This complacency was later shattered by the events of 9/11, when Al-Qaeda flew the planes into the Pentagon and into the Twin Towers in an attack on the American homeland, the biggest since Pearl Harbor. The reality is that engagement with other nations, building alliances, and standing by other countries who seek freedom saves us in the end. It saves us in casualties. It saves us in money. And it also forms those relationships with other nations that will be important to America all the way through our history. Support for Ukraine prevents a larger war with Russia and Europe. Support for Taiwan prevents China from overwhelming our other partners in Asia. Similarly, foreign aid can also do some of the same things, preventing larger problems. A great example is Haiti. Aid to Haiti is often criticized. Why are we spending money down there? But in reality, providing money to help Haiti be stable prevents refugees from leaving the country because they're afraid of their families being killed. As a secondary thing is, as they leave as refugees, it impacts Central America as they move through there, and it creates a larger problem at the U.S. border with people trying to enter either as refugees or without documentation. Another example, as George W. Bush, President of the United States, found, is that by spending money on AIDS prevention in Africa in the early 2000s, we prevented a larger spread of AIDS to the rest of the world and prevented a pandemic. Not only was it morally right, but it protected Americans in the long run. Now, Ukraine came to our aid after 9/11 in Iraq. They provided approximately 1,700 troops every year from 2003 to 2008 to support our efforts in Iraq. More than 40 Ukrainians were wounded, and 18 of their soldiers were killed, helping the United States. Now, Ukraine has its problems like anywhere else. They've had periods of unrest. They had periods of corruption, especially under a Russian-supported autocratic government. But since 2014, when they overthrew that government, they have been a reliable partner of the United States and have been seeking democratic reforms. All of these things are why we should engage with the world and not withdraw to an isolationist position as suggested by Donald Trump. Now, I've joined with the National Security Leaders for America to sign a letter endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris for president in 2024. She's a strong supporter of our allies. She will not sell them out to Russia's Vladimir Putin or any other dictator. We need to be engaged with the world to prevent the next world war. It protects our trade interests. It reduces the possibility of us suffering terrible casualties in a war. And it's the right thing to do to stand up for freedom around the world. Please vote for Vice President Harris for the next President of the United States. Thanks.